Hey guys, with another One Take Review, and today I wanted to talk about the new collaborative EP between Asian Glow and Weatherday, Weatherglow. This is a collaboration between two pretty major artists who have recently made pretty huge splashes on the emo scene, especially in those certain corners of the internet and certain corners of the music industry. Weatherday especially has been a big deal, especially with 2019's Come In. That was a very popular, even you could argue monumentally popular record within that scene, and it made quite the giant seismic wave as far as I'm concerned. So to see these two artists coming together is definitely a massive collision of two very powerful forces within the emo genre right now. Weatherglow is a very compositionally competent record, as it takes a lot of influence from a lot of the noise pop that has influenced the music of both artists involved here's previous works, albeit the limited amount of previous works they have. And I think overall songs like Center prove that even though both artists are very new to the scene, both Asian Glow and Weatherday, that they've pretty much mastered the entire sort of style of emo-ish noise pop in record time, and together, you could argue that they're maybe even more powerful of a force than they are individually, which is quite impressive considering as individual musicians and as individual performers, they're already very strong all around in pretty much all aspects. So to have them come together and do this sort of duo format, I guess you could say, it really just does show not only that they're powerful apart, but that they're more powerful together. As far as I'm personally concerned, Weatherglow as an EP could certainly be maybe the peak of musical achievement in both Weatherday and Asian Glow's discography so far, no matter how small they may be. This EP also takes a fair amount of influence from shoegaze, which is nice to see in relation to Weatherday, as shoegaze has always been a subgenre that's always been more of a part of Asian Glow's music than it has Weatherday's music, so it's interesting to see Weatherday being involved at least more directly with this kind of sound. But beyond that, the shoegaze is also nice because it manages to kind of break up those very dense walls of sound, which is a good portion of the record. This especially helps certain songs like Melt a Bed, with that aforementioned track being the album opening song that is taken from a just strong track that, warrants being on the record, on the EP, to something that's actually a very highly respectable opener, and that's largely in thanks to the fact that there is that sort of break in the action within the last maybe third quarter of it, and I think it's something that really, while subtle, does help define the record overall. While it may not be a totally omnipresent force throughout Weatherglow's 23-minute runtime, I still do think that the shoegaze influence here is obvious, and not only that, but it arguably takes up the record's quality, at least by a few pegs. And generally speaking, the chemistry between Asian Glow and Weatherday is electric, just not in the way that you would expect it to be. Rather than just playing off of each other's ideas like a lot of collabs across any genre is, this kind of sees both featured artists sort of almost melting together into one individual artist that's totally different, taking the best traits of both of their music and kind of combining them together while kind of tossing out anything that could be perceived as negative or less than enjoyable about their previously released records. While some of their talents certainly could have been maybe focused on or expanded upon a bit more, mainly the songwriting here, which I personally find is buried a bit too much in the background for my personal liking, I still do think that Asian Glow and Weatherday complement each other greatly, and they really managed to do something that most general collaborations are incapable of doing, let alone I'm assuming, one-off collaboration like this, and that is not only sort of kind of having good chemistry with an individual, but managing to almost be a singular performer in that same way, and it's very impressive. Overall, Weatherglow could have easily been way, way too ambitious for its own good. Asian Glow and Weatherday could have easily just kind of lost themselves in their own art, and that is something that's not too terribly uncommon with not only collaborations, but just music like this in general. It's just something that tends to happen, but instead they manage to make something not only the perfect length, this doesn't understay or overstay its welcome, it's also an incredibly emotional and moving EP, and I think it's an early contender for EP of the year, and that's kind of impressive considering there really have been quite a few really great EPs this year so far. So, with that being said, I am going to have to give this 4.5 stars out of 5. think this is a fantastic listen, and I would highly recommend it, even if you aren't familiar with both artists' back catalogs. It's not essential to hear, even though I would, recommend it just for context, but the context isn't needed, is my point. I would just really recommend just listening to this EP. It's absolutely fantastic. I am a very big fan of it, and I think it turned out great. So, with that being said, 4.5 stars out of 5, and that's the end of this review, and I'll see you guys in the next one.